Sorry. We have eager students today, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce myself and some of our coaches that are here today. I'm Rachel Brunowski. I'm the Learning Center Coordinator. I want to welcome you to the Michigan Supreme Court courtroom. We have an actually very full session today, it looks like. That a lot of times when the Michigan Supreme Court is in session, there aren't this many people in the courtroom. So we're very pleased to have you here, especially if you haven't ever had a chance to be in our courtroom before. Throughout the week, we've had a wonderful time working with your students. They've done a wonderful job, and we've also had a large number of people that have helped us along the way, including our coaches in the back here. These are all law students and practicing attorneys who have given of their time to spend the week with your students, and we really couldn't do it without all of the faculty and coaches that helped us along the way. And from what I can tell, I think the students have taken full advantage of an opportunity to find out exactly what it's like to be a lawyer or a law student. So I want to give a round of applause for that. I want to thank you all for coming to support your students and to support them throughout this entire week. I know that almost all of our students are coming from outside the Lansing area, and that's a huge commitment on you and your family's parts to bring the students here and to support them, especially since we gave them homework every night. I'm not sure how many of you had to help with the homework, but knowing that we required them to use the internet and do some other research and writing and all of that throughout the week, that I know that takes time, especially to carve out that time in your days. One small announcement, I want to make sure that we are doing a cell phone case, so I want to please remind everyone that if you do have a cell phone, make sure it is on silent mode, or as our Chief Justices want to say during oral arguments, he tells everyone to set the stun. You're allowed to take photos anywhere in the building. I know some of you wanted to take video while you're here. You're certainly welcome to do that. I just ask that you not be obtrusive during the time that our students are arguing. You're going to find that this is a very quiet conversation between the justices and the attorneys. So any interruptions, especially since it's a fairly small space, will be magnified by that. I also want to thank our students, not only for working so hard, but we had a few more students that we expected to come, but were not able to come at the last minute. So we have several students that have taken on extra work this week, including all of our justices who took on some extra responsibilities writing and researching their opinions. And we have our applicants that are up here that we had expected to have 3 attorneys arguing 3 arguments. So we have 2 splitting the 3. So I'm very pleased that when I said, can you please do this, they said yes, without any hesitation. We also have our court criers that will help out extra as well. What we're going to do here is we have 2 oral arguments, so we had more students who were able to join us as attorneys. But we ended up only having 1 panel of justices. I want you to know that they're going to clear their minds at the first argument and make it an impartial decision a second time. So we will do an argument, the justices will deliberate, and I'll have some time for question and answer. They'll argue, the second team will argue with more deliberation, and at the very end we will announce the ruling for both cases. The case today is based on a United States Supreme Court case. We were fairly sure when we were doing the planning starting in January that the answer would be here before the students were. And because we're arguing as the Michigan Supreme Court, we're pretending that whatever the U.S. Supreme Court decided doesn't count. Our Michigan Supreme Court can't do that on a regular basis, so I think in some ways it made our students a little more powerful than our Supreme Court. Although it's not going to get published or anything like that, but they were able to ignore the U.S. Supreme Court, which is not allowed at all. The court case has to do with a famous singer, although you'll find out, you probably won't even hear that in the arguments because that's not actually relevant to the issues they are arguing. What they're looking at is, can the police do a warrantless search of a cell phone incident to arrest? And what happened is that in our case, the famous singer has a very fast car and was driving too fast, and then through stopping him at a traffic stop, they decided that he had possibly committed a crime, and they used the information on his cell phone for evidence. And whether or not that evidence should be allowed is what they're looking at, although they're looking at 3 narrower issues about whether it should be a container, whether there should be a rule, a bright line rule, and the third is, what's our third? Storage, whether storage capacity matters or not. So it's going to be very technical issues that you're thinking about, but think about how many people have cell phones today and how many that the answer would be important to. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to have our court crier start.
Hear ye, hear ye, the Honorable Chief Justice and Justices of the Michigan Supreme Court. All persons having business in this court are admonished to draw nigh and give their attention, for the court is now sitting. God save the United States, the state of Michigan, and this honorable court.
You may be seated. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's proceedings of the Michigan Supreme Court. Today is July 25th, 2014, and our case is the people of the state of Michigan versus Dustin Gieber. With that, would counsel for the appellant please come forward?
May it please the court, Chief Justice Humphreys, justices. I am Vincent Copley, and I'm speaking on the issue of whether or not a bright line rule should be in place for cell phones. This is my co-counsel Ryan Woods and Cindy Darnell, and we are representing the appellant, Mr. Dustin Gieber. I would like to say 2 minutes for rebuttal. The appellant asked this honorable court to reverse the Court of Appeals decision. And I would like to start with, in the U.S. versus Chadwick case, officers legally seized evidence of Foot Locker. However, the search of the Foot Locker was illegal because no harm to the officer could be placed or no damage to the evidence could be diminished. And this case is directly related to my case and my client, Mr. Dustin Gieber, because Officer Osher legally obtained his cell phone, but illegally conducted a search through the contents of the phone. And I would like to also place that for incident arrest to be applicable in this case, the cell phone had to have been in danger of the officer, and my client had to have.
Counsel,
Yes.
if I may, because the cell phone that Dustin Gieber was using at the time of the arrest was an iPhone 8S, which he used his influence to buy before it was available to the general public. Would it be fair to say that there is a possibility that evidence on the cell phone may have been remotely destroyed had the officer not taken and searched the phone?
Well, for that question, since that is not available to the general public, I don't know if they, in the iPhone 8S, they have the technology to remotely destroy evidence, but my client was currently, while the officer was going through the contents of the phone, currently handcuffed and incarcerated in the back of the police vehicle. Now back to incident arrest. For danger to the officer or evidence, that is the only way you can use incident arrest to search the contents of the cell phone. And that is why I would like a bright line rule should be placed to exclude cell phones from incident arrest and warrantless searches.
Counsel, what facts do we need in order to search a phone with a warrant?
Could you rephrase that question?
If we were to make a bright line rule for cell phones, what facts would we use to decide whether or not we need a search warrant in order to go through the cell phone?
Thank you. Only when data information poses no threat to an officer, no threat to the general public, or no threat to destruction of evidence should my bright line rule be in place. And thank you. If your justices have no more questions, I'd like to be seated.
You may be seated.
May it please the court, Chief Justice Humphreys. My name is Ryan Woods, and I am representing the defendant, Justin Bieber. The issue at hand is whether or not cell phones should be treated the same way regardless of their storage capacity. The answer is yes. There are numerous reasons why that. For example, in case United States versus Murphy, the defendant argued that there should be a difference in treatment for cell phones based on their storage capacity due to the volatile nature of information on lower capacity cell phones. The court refuted this argument by trying to focus to the fact that data was still capable of being deleted from the cell phone regardless of the storage capacity. The data could still be voluntarily deleted. Also, yes.
If the appellant is suggesting that a bright line rule be created to exclude evidence obtained from one of the cell phone service in the first place, why do different rules need to be in place for cell phones with different storage capacities?
What I'm saying is that all cell phones need to be treated the same regardless of their storage capacity. Another reason for this is that technology is always changing. Dustin Gieber, the defendant, had an iPhone 8S, which is currently unavailable to the public. Its storage capacity, the exact amount of which is irrelevant to this case, whether or not it should be the amount of data is constantly changing with technology. Newer cell phones have greater storage capacity than the previous generation, and having all cell phones treated the same regardless of storage capacity would allow for much simpler rulings by the court. Also, to draw a comparison to the First Amendment of the Constitution, protecting freedom of the press. Similar to this case would be if a newspaper was, whether or not its freedom of publishing its information was restricted based on its size. That is, although not exactly the same, it is very similar to this case with regulating cell phones based on their capacity.
Counsel,
Yes.
wouldn't it be more intrusive to just have to be able to search a phone with more storage capacity because there's more possibility for information to be stored on it?
Yes, but regardless of storage capacity, the same rules should apply because the information that is available on smaller capacity cell phones can still be contained in a cell phone with larger storage capacity. Are there any more questions?
Did the fact that your cell phone was an iPhone 8S change the fact that it could be searched?
Could you rephrase your question? I'm sorry, could you repeat the question then?
Does the fact that your cell phone was an iPhone 8S change the fact that it could be searched?
No, because all cell phones should be treated the same regardless of the storage capacity.
Thank you.
Good morning. May it please the court. I'm Sydney Dornall, and I will be representing Mr. Gieber. I will be arguing that a cell phone is not a container. Your Honor, a cell phone is not a container for the following reason: that it cannot hold physical objects. In the Supreme Court case United States v. Robinson in 1973, an officer pulled over a man speeding and patted him down to find a cigarette cigarette pack full of heroin in his shirt pocket. The court ruled this to be a reasonable search. When United States v. Robinson took place, the court described this cigarette pack to be a container. The dictionary definition of a container is, and I quote, anything that contains or can contain something, as a carton, box, crate, or a can, end quote. I repeat, carton, box, crate, or can. This is a definition from a simple dictionary for the common man. One would never mistake a cell phone for one of those containers, considering that phones cannot hold or contain any physical material. This concept was confirmed in the Supreme Court case New York v. Belton in 1981, thus suggesting it would be inappropriate to search a cell phone if not a container.
Counsel, New York v. Belton was decided in 1981. Cell phones have grown in popularity severely since then, so could counsel please explain why this case maintains its relevance today?
Well, first of all, Your Honor, New York v. Belton did indeed regulate and say that you need to source something physical. And I assume because there's a simple dictionary definition, dictionaries are updated every single year. And also the dictionary definition of a container is, this is the current definition of a container. So I assume it still applies because this dictionary was updated. Your Honor, during Bieber's arrest, Officer Osher was in no danger coming from my client. I quote here, at the time of the arrest, Officer Osher patted down Bieber for weapons. Then he seized the cell phone, end quote. No weapons were found. I quote again, after putting Bieber in the police car, Officer Osher began searching Bieber's cell phone, end quote. Officer Osher did this without a warrant or consent to do so from Mr. Bieber. In case State v. Smith in 2009, Smith, a well-known drug dealer, was arrested at a client's house. Smith was patted down and the phone was confiscated, but not searched until it arrived at the police station. Later, the Supreme Court confirmed that, and I quote, searches and seizures that could be made on the spot at the time of the arrest may legally be conducted later when the accused arrives at the place of detention, end quote.
Counsel, what about items that could be hidden in the internal workings of a cellular phone?
Your Honor, do you mean as a data?
No, I'm referring to items that could be placed in the internal workings of the cell phone.
Your Honor, such as weapons?
Such as weapons, drugs, maybe even money.
Well, assuming an iPhone 8S, I'm not exactly certain what the content of an iPhone 8S can let you do, but I do know from the modern iPhones, the backing does not come off, the battery cannot come off, and you'll see with a tiny screwdriver. He was not leaning over the steering wheel with a tiny screwdriver, as confirmed. Officer Osher searched Bieber's phone on the spot illegally due to the lack of a warrant, making it a complete invasion of privacy in comparison to State v. Smith. In another case, United States v. Murphy in 2009, the Fourth Circuit held a cell phone was a container. However, the facts of this case were very different than the case at bar. In United States v. Murphy, 3 drug dealers were pulled over and gave fake identities to the officer. The driver gave the officer his own phone and permission to use it in order to call his supposed employers to confirm their identity. With the employers ending to be fake, the phone had to be confiscated in order for Drug Enforcement Administration to get the phone numbers before evidence was deleted. This is completely different than Bieber's situation, considering that he gave the officer no permission with the phone, let alone any fake identity that had to be proven. Murphy's phone was essential to proving the case, whereas Bieber's phone did not help in proving identity. In my last case, Hawkins v. State in 2012, the Supreme Court held a cell phone was a container. However, these facts were also very different than this case at bar. In Hawkins v. State, an officer posed as a customer looking to buy drugs from Hawkins. They agreed to meet, and Hawkins texted the officer, well, his fake identity, saying that he had arrived at their place that they were to meet. The officer arrested Hawkins on the spot and confiscated his cell phone for the pure reason that he already saw the messages and knew exactly the messages he needed to look and print for the case. In Hawkins, he did not go through any other files of the phone, just those needed. The officer in Hawkins needed these texts to prove his case, whereas Officer Osher at the time had absolutely no idea what was on this phone.
Counsel, if the appellant is arguing that there should be a bright-line rule that excludes evidence obtained from warrantless cell phone searches, why would evidence that was obtained in the case that you described received more merit than the evidence in this case?
Because in Hawkins versus State, the officer was posing as a fake identity, Your Honor. And this Hawkins was texting the officer directly to his cell phone. He knew exactly the messages. And for Officer Osher, Mr. Eagle was not texting this Officer Osher. So he had no idea that something could have been confirmed on his cell phone. It was
a follow-up then. If, basically what I'm trying to ask is if the officer had the messages on the cell phone already, why did the cell phone need to be confiscated from the suspect?
I suppose he wanted, Your Honor, to look and show the court this is from this cell phone, because an officer could have easily put a number on the top and a big number, so this is from Hawkins. But I suppose if it comes directly from Hawkins' phone, you say, look, here's my cell phone provider, this is my number, and he sent this directly to my phone number. That proves more of the case. And that's it. Thank you.
Being as arguments on the appellant's side of the case have been completed, would counsel for the appellant please come forward?
Good morning. May it so please the court, Chief Justice Humphreys, Justices, I'm Christine Gotke, and this is Chris Proof for the people. I will be arguing that a cell phone should be classified as a container, as well as we should establish a bright line rule. When we look at some of the cases that we have seen in the past, Carroll versus United States, 1925, it was decided that persons lawfully arrested for an offense can be searched for whatever is found in his possession, whether it be a cell phone or a container. In this case, we look at a container. In State versus Smith, 2009, a very recent decision, it differs from the Ebert case by a definition. When we look at the definition from the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, a container is anything that holds something. It does not have to be physical, substantial, it's just anything, honestly. So if you're looking at messages, text messages, emails, it's stored inside a container. It's stored inside a cell phone. Therefore, we can look at the cell phone as a container.
Counsel, New York versus Belgium defined a container as an object capable of holding a physical object. Now, basically what I'm trying to ask is how does a definition that comes from a book written by the common man supersede legal precedent?
If we look at when the case was decided in 1981, the amount of information and whether it be physical or substantial has changed so much. So whether the definition has been outdated or if we look at more recent definitions, it might be more helpful to the case.
A follow-up. State versus Smith, a case that was decided in Ohio in 2009, cited New York versus Belgium as a legal precedent for their definition of a container. So could you please explain then why this definition would be out of date?
Because this definition was following the same definition as the 1981, where the current definition is an object that can hold something. This being said, anyways, a container can only be searched as a closed container. When we look at Mr. Bieber's phone, it had no passlock on it. Therefore, it was open. Open to the public, open to anyone who was to walk down the street and pick up the phone. We believe that there should be a bright line rule because of this, because cell phones prominence in today's age. Without setting it now, we're not going to have the guidelines to go by in the future. This being said, I would like to save the rest of my time for my co-counsel if the justices have any more questions.
I have a question. What difference would a passcode or a lock make on the phone?
With a passcode, the officer would have to ask the owner's permission to access any of the information. Therefore, it was a closed container. Without that lock, he was not taking any extra initiative to go ahead and protect
his information, or if it were a container, to block it from the general public.
Counsel, a question. If, as you are saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you are stating that because a passcode would give a higher expectation of privacy, it should be more protected, why would you say that a passcode would have a higher expectation of privacy?
Because we believe that a higher expectation of privacy with the passcode, if you were taking that initiative, you were saying, this is my information, I do not want anyone else to look to it. As an open container, you're allowing anyone who walks by to look into that. If there are no other questions, I would like to reserve the rest of the time.
Counsel Davis.
May it please the court, Chief Justice Humphrey, Justices, I'm Chris Cruz. For the people, I am arguing that all phones should have one rule regardless of capacity, and that a bright line rule should be included for all cell phones in a search incident sequence. Regardless of capacity, all cell phones are capable of storing some data as evidence. In U.S. versus Murphy, if a search warrant was required, it would, and I quote, require police officers to ascertain the storage capacity of a cell phone before conducting a search. This would be unreasonable and unworkable. This is because, let's say you have two iPhone 5s, one a 16 gigabyte phone and one a 64 gigabyte phone. How would the police officer know which one is a 16 gigabyte phone or 64 gigabyte phone? Capability of any cell phone does not depend on the storage capacity. They can all generate evidence. For example, a bag phone, which has no storage capacity at all, can still be traced or even wiretapped, while an iPhone can send messages, can send pictures, can access social media. So, regardless of the storage capacity, evidence on cell phones
Counsel, correct me if I'm wrong, would it be fair to say that the officer could very easily identify the storage capacity of the phone by the markings on, for example, the back of the phone, and that such a recognition would be part of the search incident to arrest?
Can you rephrase that, please?
Yes. Basically what I'm trying to say is that if a police officer were able to find markings on the back of a cellular phone that indicated the storage capacity, wouldn't that fall under a search incident to arrest and therefore be allowed as evidence?
But he can't seize the phone and get a search warrant because he would have to need to know the storage capacity before he takes the phone.
So are you saying that you think police can search a phone without any probable cause?
In this case, Mr. Bieber had a painting which was reported stolen, so the officer Usher did have probable cause to take his phone.
What did the phone have to do with the painting?
Mr. Bieber was texting his friend, and he was admitting that he did steal the paintings and a laptop from two people.
Counsel, if you are saying that you did have probable cause to search Mr. Bieber's cell phone, then why would you not have probable cause to seize Mr. Bieber's cell phone and look for the storage capacity thereof?
Can you rephrase that?
Yes. You previously answered that you did have probable cause to search Mr. Bieber's cell phone, is that correct? And you also previously answered that you probable cause to seize the cell phone, and that would require a warrant in order to find the storage capacity of the phone, is that correct?
Yes.
So then, why would the search be probable cause incident to arrest, but the seizure not be.
In this circumstance, Mr. Bieber had an iPhone 8s, and it wasn't released to the public yet. So we don't know the storage capacity at all of this phone.
Thank you.
So, regardless of storage capacity, evidence on phone can be deleted or the phone itself can be destroyed, such as Mr. Bieber was texting when the police officer came to him. He could have easily deleted the text messages or even broke the phone.
Does the fact that the defendant was texting change whether the cell phone should be searched or not?
Can you say that again?
Does the fact that the defendant was texting change whether the phone should be searched or not?
Your Honor, I don't think that would matter to the case because the officer had probable cause already, so that wouldn't really matter as much.
So you're saying that the officer had probable cause to search the cell phone because it's empty?
That was reported stolen, though.
Counsel, if the police officer had already seized the phone, then why did he have the right to search it if it was out of Bieber's reach and there was no possibility of the destruction of evidence?
Well, he could have destroyed it before.
Yes, but I'm saying since the officer already seized the phone, which I'm not saying is unconstitutional, but did he have the right to search the phone if there is no possibility of the destruction of evidence?
Well, he did have the chance before he seized the phone. And he also did have the probable cause.
What I don't understand is why he was able to search the phone if it was no longer in Bieber's reach. Whether or not he did destroy the evidence beforehand, I don't believe is relevant. So why would he be able to search the phone after Bieber could no longer destroy the evidence? Can you rephrase that? Right, say I have a phone, then you take it from me and go someplace I can't go, and then search the phone. Why would you be able to search the phone if I was not able to destroy any evidence on the phone? If I was not able to do it all?
Your Honor, going back, he did have probable cause to search the phone because of the payment, which was reported stolen.
Why did he have probable cause to search the phone because of a painting? The painting has nothing to do with the phone.
Because anything was reported stolen.
Yes, but what does that have to do with the phone?
Because he was texting and to his friend that he did do it.
The officer did not know that this was taking place.
He searched him after, he saw the painting.
Counsel,
He found
and Mr. Bieber texted the text messages that you are speaking of 8 hours before Mr. Bieber was arrested. So therefore, what I'd like to ask is, how then are you saying that the text message that Bieber was texting at that time would have made him implicated in the crime?
Can you repeat that?
Yes. Mr. Bieber, the messages that would have implicated Mr. Bieber in a crime, specifically the stealing of a painting and the stealing of a laptop, he texted those messages 8 hours before his arrest, not the instant that he was arrested. So therefore, why then would the officer have a reason to believe that the text message that he was texting right there would have been evidence to prove that he committed a crime.
Well, the officer, excuse me, Your Honor, may I look at my
Yes.
Okay. Because Gerber didn't have a lock on his phone, so it was an open container, which can be searched, just like a box.
Counsel, when you say it can be searched, how do you know that? Where did you get that from?
Can you say that again?
You said the phone is considered a container because it was open to the public, correct?
Correct.
So if that's the case, how do you know that? Like, how can you assure me of that? You have to back that up.
Because he didn't have a passcode on it.
Where did you get that from? Is what I'm asking.
What?
Where did you get that from? Is what I'm asking.
From him.
Counsel, I think that what my honorable friend is trying to say is, what is your legal precedent for that statement? What case did you get that statement from? Counsel may answer. If counsel does not have an answer, he may be seated. Counsel for the appellant, please come forward for your rebuttal.
All right. As the opposing counsel said, they're talking about holding physical evidence, which it did not. And also, actually, I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start with the passcode. Regardless if the phone had passcode or not, I'm assuming all of you have smartphones, and all of you also know that if a phone is not in active use, it goes into sleep mode, right? So if the phone was in sleep mode, that means the screen was darkened and the officer had somehow powered the phone where he could go through the messages, which means it was a closed container, which was not open to the public. I also want to know if he was also handcuffed, therefore he could have not destroyed evidence at all. The dictionary is different from the legal precedent versus the dictionary definition, Justice Humphreys. And therefore, the appeal asks this honorable court to reverse the Court of Appeals decision and hold that 1, there should be a bright line rule that excludes cell phones from warrantless searches from consent of arrest. 2, all cell phones should be treated the same regardless of storage capacity. And 3, a cell phone should not be classified as a container.
Counsel may be seated. At this time, justices will go into conference to deliberate. Court is adjourned.
Okay, we'll take a few minutes to go ahead and be seated. We're going to switch around.